Hi, this is Sophia, and this is course about Fortinet, IPsec, and Fortinet. What is IPsec? IPsec is a vendor-neutral set of protocols, and it's used to join two physically distinct LANs. The local area networks are joined as if they were a single local logical network, despite being separated by the internet. And in theory, IPsec does support null encryption. It means like with no encryption at all. And you can make VPNs which do not encrypt traffic. IPsec does provide any advantages over plain traffic. Without encryption, there is no advantages. No one can trust traffic that may have had an attack injected by an attacker. And it's really when people want data sent by an unknown source. Most transactions, they need private network data, such as credit card transactions, medical records, and it should be private. It means it should stay encrypted. And regardless of the vendor, IPsec VPNs almost always have settings that allow them to provide three important benefits. First benefit is authentication. Authentication is used to verify the identity of both ends of that communication. And data integrity, or HMAC. It is needed to provide tamper proofing to prove that encapsulated data has not been tampered with. It crosses a potentially hostile network. And third advantage is confidentiality. Confidentiality, it means encryption, to make sure that only intended recipient can read the message. What is IPsec protocol and what are the parts of IPsec protocol? IPsec protocol is a stack of protocols, and if you're passing your virtual private network through firewalls, you need to know which protocols to allow. IPsec is a suite of separate protocols which includes IKE, or Internet Key Exchange. It is used to authenticate peers, exchange keys, and negotiate the encryption and checksums that are used. Essentially, it's a control channel. Second part of IPsec is authentication header. Contains the authentication header, which is checksums that verify the integrity of data. Third part is ESP. ESP is encapsulated security payload. The encrypted payload, which is essentially a data channel. So you must pass IPsec traffic through the firewall. Then you remember that you need to allow one protocol or port numbers is usually not enough. For each protocol, you need to enable different ports. For example, for protocol IKE, there is for NET IP protocol 17, for net traversal IP protocol 17, uses port 500 with no net. With net traversal, it could use port UDP 500 and port UDP 4500. 4500 is used for rekey, quick mode, and mode CFG. For ESP, for encrypted security payload, for net, ISP uses protocol 50. For net traversal, you need to keep open port number 4500. And if required, you can set a custom port for both IKE and IKE not traversal, like for initiator and responder, using command in config system settings, set IKE-port and set up the port number. And custom port range is from 1024 to 6500 535. FortiGate always listens on UDP 4500 for if it's a responder only. So this default parts for standard NIC, you need to keep in mind UDP 500 and UDP 4500. 4500 for net traversal. You need to use CLI, command line interface, command to change that settings to put the number, not standard port number. But FortiGate always will keep listening on port UDP 4500 regardless of the custom settings. And this enables FortiGate to negotiate net traversal tunnels and on custom and on standard ports. IPsec provides services at the IP network layer. As we know, there are layers like physical layer, data link layer, network layer, transport layer. So it works on the third layer, IPsec, and during tunnel establishment, both ends negotiate encryption and authentication algorithm that they will use. How does IPsec work? So encapsulation, other protocols are wrapped inside IPsec packets. What is inside? It varies by mode. IPsec works in tunnel mode and in transport mode. Transport mode, TCP, UDP. In tunnel mode, the additional IP layer, then TCP, UDP. Negotiation has phases: authentication, handshake to exchange keys and to exchange settings. After the tunnel has been negotiated and it is up, data is encrypted and encapsulated into ESP packets, encrypted security payload packets. And what is encapsulated? It depends on the mode of IPsec. IPsec can operate in two modes: transport mode and tunnel mode. Transport mode directly encapsulates and protects the fourth layer, transport layer, and above. It does not protect the original IP header and does not add any additional IP header. And tunnel mode, IPsec tunnel, is encapsulating the whole IP packet and then adds in front of the packet, it adds a new header at the beginning. After the IPsec packet reaches the remote LAN and it is unwrapped, the original packet can continue on its journey. And please note that after you remove the VPN-related headers, transport mode packet cannot be transmitted any further. It has no second IP header inside because it has to have that header. And for this reason, the mode is usually used only for end-to-end VPNs. So end-to-end is like client-to-client VPN. And IKE, Internet Key Exchange, uses protocol port 500. If NAT traversal is enabled in network address translation scenario, then IKE uses UDP port 4500. IKE establishes an IPsec VPN tunnel. FortiGate uses Internet Key Exchange to negotiate with the peer and determine the IPsec Security Association SA. The IPsec Security Association defines the authentication, keys, and settings that FortiGate uses to encrypt and to decrypt that peer's packets. It is based on the Internet Security Association and Key Management Protocol. That protocol, short naming, is ISA KMP. KMP, Key Management Protocol, ISA, Internet Security Association and Key Management Protocol. IKE negotiation has two phases. Phase 1, IKE Phase 1 and IKE Phase 2. And also IKE has two versions, IKE version 1 and IKE version 2. There are two IKE version, and even though IKE version 2 is a newer version, and it provides some additional features. And there are several differences between IKE version 1 and version 2. So IKE version 2 provides a simpler operation, which is a result of using a single exchange mode and requires less messages to bring it up the tunnel. Authentication-wise, both versions support PSK, pre-shared keys, and also certificate signatures. Although only IKE version 1 supports XAuth, so both of them have PSK, certificate signatures, and additional form. It could be like symmetric, and IKE version 2 supports asymmetric authentication method. IKE version 2 supports EAP, pass-through, and IKE version 1 supports XAuth. But FortiGate, 40 iOS IKE version 2 EAP implementation is pass-through only. What does it mean that pass-through only authentication? It means that you cannot revoke access to peers using IKE version 2 unless you use certificate signature. With IKE version 1, you can deny access to VPN peers without having to use a certificate signature by using XAuth. IKE version 2 also supports symmetric authentication, and it enables you to configure each peer to use a different authentication method. So, first feature of IKE version 1 and IKE version 2, exchange modes. Exchange modes for IKE version 1, they could be two modes, main and aggressive. For main, it sends a total 9 messages, 6 for phase 1 and 3 for phase 2. In aggressive mode, it says 6 messages, 3 for phase 1 and 3 for phase 2. For IKE version 2, the exchange procedure only, and total messages is 4. One child security association only. When you both use both versions, you support NAT traversal, but difference is that IKE version 1 supports NAT traversal as an extension, and IKE version 1 supports NAT traversal natively, so it's native support. Also, IKE version 2 is a more reliable protocol than IKE version 1 because, like TCP peers, must acknowledge the messages exchanged between them. IKE version 1 doesn't support such mechanism. When you configure multiple dial-up IPsec VPNs, IKE version 2 makes it simpler to match the intended gateway by peered ID. With IKE version 2, you can either use the standard peer ID attribute or Fortinet proprietary network ID attribute to indicate phase 1 gateway to match the dial-up server. It could be matched regardless of the authentication mode in use. With IKE version 1, you can use the peer ID only. With IKE version 2 could be peer ID and network ID, and with IKE version 1, you can use peer ID only, and it depends which mode you use. As we said, in IKE version 1, there are two modes, in aggressive mode and main mode. So if IKE version 1 combined with aggressive mode, then it combines with a pre-shared key, PSK. And peer ID, when it's in main mode, can use certificate signature authentication. So let's summarize this. Dial-up phase 1, matching by ID. IKE version 1 uses only peer ID plus aggressive mode plus PSK, or peer ID plus main mode plus certificate signature. And with IKE version 2, it could use peer ID or FortiGate proprietary network ID. And plus, there is one more feature of IKE version 2, which is not included to IKE version 1. This is that there is traffic selector narrowing. Traffic selector narrowing enables a peer to automatically narrow down its traffic selector addresses, and it agrees with the traffic selector to remote peer purposes. Thank you. Let's continue in the next video.